Okay, so we're gonna be doing this picture where Shanda's behind the fence, and then we have a camera set up on a tripod. So what this is gonna be doing, we're making it so we're gonna cut out some of the fence holes and show the background. What you have to do is you have to make sure you take 2 pictures, one with her there, and then she moves and you get an empty plate with nothing in the background also. Okay, so the first thing I'm doing, we want these cattails to be in the background. So I'm looking at my camera height. I want to keep it at her eye level. And then I want to look to see all my background. So I picked this spot because, what are these called? These cattails started getting lower. And I was able to see the trees and the mountains and stuff. And right now we have shade, so we kind of looked out. And once you set up your tripod, you're gonna want to make sure it doesn't move. Because in order to mask out everything in the background. Oh, and you want to set your focus, because when you get your plate, an empty, so a plate is when everyone moves and you take a picture and it's got everyone in the background. I mean, the rest of your stuff in the background. But when she moves and I get the empty shot, the camera's going to want to try to refocus. So you want to make sure you set your focus prior to having her move. Okay, so I have my focus locked, and also, because I hate rotating pictures, you want to make sure your rotation, because the fence has very even lines in it, it's easy to make sure that you line up properly. So you look at the live view on your camera and make sure that the top edge is touching all of the top of the fences at the same time, because you don't want to rotate if you don't have to. It's like we have our own police escort. We have police escort us when we're doing photo shoot. Another thing I noticed, once I set the horizon, because the reeds are going down, it looks like the picture's crooked. Oh. But it's not. Okay, so now that everything's set up, do you want that hand cut off? Because right now it's out of the frame. And then lower that other one. Yeah, to there. Okay, your shirt, because your hair is over one side, it's making the collar look like it's going up. So we don't know if we want to do a low f-stop or a high f-stop, so I'm actually going to take all the pictures.
How's that? Yeah,
but that's better. I'm going to do some at 1.8 and then we're going to do some at 6.3. And I'm set manual focus. Right now I'm at 6.3, 160th of a second, 100 ISO. Camera's level. You don't want to have the metal bars cross her eye. So I'm going to take a bunch of pictures. Okay, so now just doing your posing. So the camera's not moving. It's on a tripod. Shanda's doing all of her poses. Just try to get a whole bunch of pictures. And now you're just taking pictures. Okay, now let me do it again. So I'm at 160, 6.3. I need to remember that, because now I'm going to change my settings and do the other picture before she moves. So now I'm going to go 1.8. Okay, so now I'm at 1.8. Now I'm at 1.8 and 0.02 of a second, and we're going to do the same thing. Okay, pictures. Okay, now I'll step out. You don't have to go very far. Okay, so now I'm going to get my empty plate shot, and I don't need a lot. And now I'm going to change my settings back. So they're 1/60th of a second and 6.3. And now I'm getting my empty plate pictures of when the f-stop, and that's it. Okay, so now back to the studio. I'll download the card and start going through the pictures. Well, hello and welcome. All right, so we have all of our files downloaded. We're going to use Bridge to go through and pick out our favorites. Okay, so these were just test shots here.
There might have been a better one that looked more like that, but with my fingers that were more curled into it. So first, and then one of the bottom ones.
Is it good or bad?
Is good.
I like that one, except
Like,
for
see how that one looks like a
right in your eye right there.
But that might be kind of cool if you purposely black one of them out, you know?
Yeah.
It's just that that one looks so like Glee Glorp.
Okay, so now when you edit your picture, make sure you pick your background and your foreground and open them both up when you're editing, because you need to copy all your settings over to both pictures because you want your background to be the same. Now you can see the fence moves a little bit, but we'll just kind of line that up in Photoshop. It might have been because she was holding the fence so it moved. Okay, and then when you open from Photoshop from Bridge, you got to highlight both files, and then you can do open images. If you want to open them up directly as smart, oh, I got to move this so you can see it. If you want to open these as smart objects, you can hold down Shift before hitting open, and then it'll open both of these up directly as smart objects. And the advantage of the smart object is you'll be able to go back into Camera Raw and keep all your settings. I think the settings are going to be fine for now, so I'm just going to open them up as regular images. Okay, so you're going to want to take your fence layer, your plate, your empty plate without the model in it, and you're going to take it and you're going to drag it over to this image. And I'm holding down Shift, and the reason I'm holding down Shift is when I let go, it'll automatically center this photo directly on the canvas of this one. If I don't hold Shift and then just drop it, sometimes it'll show up like over here, and then now you have to, like, you know, realign it and everything. So just dragging it over and holding Shift at the same time will drop it right in the center. Now I'm going to toggle these on and off and kind of see how much the fence moved. Looks like it moved quite a bit, but the background stayed perfect. So I'm going to not try to realign this thing unless I run into a problem. Okay, so I'm going to actually make my background here a separate layer. And I'm going to put this fence underneath. So that way, when we just turn on the mask on this one, I can just start erasing some holes. Maybe we can add in some fake flowers, because they're just bokeh-y.
You probably can.
So you just find some flowers, and then we'll outline them. I wonder if I have flowers on any of the trees out there. Hey, you want to take the 50 and then take them in focus, though, so I can outline them and cut them out, and then I'll blur them after.
You're going to blur them?
Yeah. Because I have to be able to trace them. Okay, so the first suggestion I would make is on picking your squares we're going to remove here is find parts of the picture that you don't like. So because right here we have the hairline right here, and I would probably do some editing to straighten out the hair in here, we're just going to get rid of this whole square. That way we don't even have to worry about it. So that one looks like it lines up pretty good. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a mask. I'm going to move this window up so you guys can see. Okay, so we're going to click this mask button right here, and that'll create a white square. Make sure you're selected on it. You can see this white outline around it. And then we want to paint black on this mask, which will let the layer behind it show through. So you can see if I grab this brush, switch it to black here, and just paint through, it's showing the fence behind it. Now it actually looks like, hey, how come it's not erasing the chain link fence? But that's because it's showing you the chain link fence from the other photo. So I'm going to switch it back to white, undo that, just so you can see. That was the example here. Now we're going to go up here, and I'm going to paint black. And we're going to harden up the brush so I have sharper edges here. So we're just going to go like this. And we make it a little softer here. Blend in this fence color. Okay. There's the first square. Alright, I'm just going to fast forward this part because it was too time consuming to copy the background layer and adjust the position for each of the openings in the fences. So decided it would be better to align the fence with the transformation tool. So I'm just going to fast forward through all of this part right here. I'm going to leave it on the screen though and try to explain what I'm doing, so that way if you're interested in learning about what I'm doing here. So I'm just copying the background again for each square that I'm doing, and then I'm aligning it up. Sometimes you can align it up by changing the layer above it to 50%, and then it's easier to kind of line it up at a 50% layer. Right here I'm using the pen tool to outline her fingers so we can erased and then I noticed it was too sharp, so I undid my erasing, went into the selection and mask and added a feather. And then I ended up grabbing my Wacom tablet just so I can use my pen and kind of, so right now I'm using a pen on a tablet to just get smoother mouse lines. It was easier to cut out her fingers with the pen. Also, in the beginning, we were just kind of going random with the squares. And then after I did the transformation, we thought it would be better to do some type of pattern. So we ended up doing like 2 diagonal lines with the holes. So this is almost done here. We got probably another 20 seconds. Oh, right there. Okay, so that piece was the layer above it. The square above it was affecting the line, so I had to then mask out more of the square that was next to it to get rid of that line. And it's usually easier to line up the fence when you just fade out the top layer. Okay, so then right about here, it goes back to normal speed, and I'm going to explain what I'm doing here too, because I wasn't talking. So I'm duplicating the background, or my plate layer, and I'm raising it to the top, and I'm dropping it over the model picture. And then I'm going to fade out the top layer 50%, and I hit Control T for the transform tool, and I'm adjusting the corners. So now I stretch the bottom out until the bottom lined up. Now these corners you have to hold down, I think it's Control or Alt, in order to move just one point. And then it kind of stinks because when you zoom in Photoshop, it doesn't let you access those edges if they're off the canvas. So you almost have to like stay zoomed out a little bit in order to see your canvas area, and then it makes it harder to line up. So I had to keep zooming out, and then I would zoom in to check to see how good it was, and then I would zoom out to, they should fix that. Okay, so I can see it's, and while you're in transform, you can still adjust the opacity and stuff without applying the transformation. Let's go ahead and I'm just doing more fine-tune adjustments to try to get the fence lined up perfectly. Okay, so since it was taking too long to sit there and copy each chain link, I ended up taking the background layer and warping it so it lined up perfect. Now it will be a lot easier to just sit there and start removing any of the squares we want. So that's going to go a lot faster. Okay, so let's do this one right here. So much easier after lining it up. No, it's kind of meaning like this row, and then we could do this row right here. So bring back these two. And then if we want, we could do however many rows over we did 2. So then we could do this whole row and then leave everything else. See? That's better, right? Oh, except for this one.
Can you get that weird thing out of my hair?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so then we'll do, okay, so now we had Jared go out and take some pictures of, you know, flowers and stuff. So now we're gonna see if we can stick some leaves or flowers or something. Okay, now what we're gonna try to do is we're just gonna try to add a branch in front like it was in the front of the camera. We didn't think about that until after. And instead of taking 5 minutes to just reshoot the picture, we're gonna just spend an hour putting in a branch. So the first thing you're gonna wanna do is outline the branch because we're gonna trace this thing. Let's see, the best way to do this, let's just go do a quick selection. I don't know. Let's go select. We're gonna go select by focus range and see if it can get the. Oh, look at that! Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. It did half the work for me. Okay, and the nice thing, it's also doing output to selection. Okay, so now we have a selection of this. And then we just got to get these extra little pieces that got missed in here. And we're going to be blurring the heck out of this, so the selection doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, now we're going to go into select and mask. We're going to add some feathering. We're going to add smooth, so it smooths out the selection. Okay, and we're going to go okay. And we're going to create a mask. And we're going to take this, stick it on our picture, and move it over. And then we're going to go to blur. Let's go to, let's see. So I got to, okay, there. And then we're going to go, so I just changed that to a smart filter. So it created a smart object on that thing. And then now we're going to add a blur. And that way I have the ability to change my blur later if I. Okay, now if the tones are wrong, like the greens in this leaf are greener than the rest of the picture, so I'm going to add an adjustment layer of hue saturation, and then you want to hold down Alt and click the line in between, and it makes it so this hue saturation only gets applied to that layer, which is the branches. So now we're going to go up to hue, and we can like adjust what color just the tree is here. So we're going to go just a little bit warmer because it's not that green over there. Okay. Okay, and then let's grab this flower one right here. I actually like the flower thing here too. So we're going to go filter. We're going to go first. We're going to go select color range, and we're going to go by this color. We can get all these colors in here. And that will give us pretty much the flowers. And then let's go ahead and select this branch up here. And you can see I'm being very sloppy with my selection because, you know, we blurred it quite a bit. I'm also probably going to mirror this image so that way it ends up coming from the other side. I'm going to stick this one on the other side. Okay, so now we have this plant and we want to position it so it's not blocking her. Right, and then if we don't like that blur, if we want this branch to look like it's closer, you just go down to this blur layer right here and you double click it, and now we can go and change our blur on the thing. So I want to be able to see that it's a little bit more flowery, so let's pull this down. Okay. Okay, and then the only other thing we're gonna do is clean up any spot removal on the face and stuff like that. So let me save this. Should have probably saved it a while ago.